immigration benefits that I think it's less than 25% affirmatively that are granted. So it's one of those areas where you just have to make sure no one can guarantee you any outcome in any immigration application. But if you can increase your chances of getting an approval, then your case is that much closer to getting an approval. And it starts with you getting all the information and supporting evidence in your case. I don't think I can't off the top of my head. I don't think I've ever had any asylum case or VAWA case that does not have a psychological evaluation report attached to that. And so, talking about the report, Ms. Scott, what importance does or what your recommendation in your report? How does it give credence to a VAWA case? Oh, I think okay. A VAWA case or an asylum case or any other humanitarian case, why is it important that not just seeing the therapist, not just the detailed facts, what role does the recommendation also play?
The recommendation is all about credibility. It is showing that a licensed professional counselor has looked at your case and they believe that what I am recommending to them will be beneficial to you. It's one thing to say, yes, I want to stay, but there's another thing to say, I believe that if this person is granted, along with therapy, along with being surrounded by family and friends, that they will be a productive citizen. And I am basing that on what you have told me. In the beginning, we talk about where you went to school, how you were raised, your upbringing, what you do for a living, all of the things that make you you. That is going to help with my recommendation in the end. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And I have won VAWA cases and I've won asylum cases largely due to a detailed evaluation report as well as testimony whenever it's needed. I cannot stress enough. And if you're just joining us, we have our special guest, Ms. Yori Ayola Scott. We're talking about psychological evaluation and humanitarian cases such as VAWA and asylum. I cannot stress enough why you should make sure that every single VAWA case you have, every single asylum case you have, please do not, don't be penny wise, pound foolish. Your immigration status or getting your goal of your green card is not the time to try to cut corners and try to, that somebody said. So I'll give an example. I have a couple, about 5 cases that I have just been retained on within the last 6 months. It turns out that there is this guy in one state. I'm not going to say the state because if I say the state, everybody will know who that is. However, he will put together VAWA cases for people and was using a psychologist's information out of California, but he was making up the report. And so one of the very first cases I got was an RFE. And my client came to me and I did a FOIA request, which because she didn't have a copy of what she had submitted. So I did a FOIA request, got the records from USCIS and saw that there was no rhyme or rhythm. Like it was like having a psychiatrist report mixed with a mental health report. It was all over the place. So you cannot, and USCIS called that out, that they had to do some investigation and they found out that this person actually is under investigation, actually has been arrested for putting up a fraudulent document. So people who have been affected with his establishment are all in that, and there are cases that taking that much longer for USCIS to adjudicate. So you cannot be penny wise, pound foolish when it comes to your life. It's important to know what you are doing. Get a licensed counselor. Do not, you're going to end up paying more at the end because, if you go cheap in the beginning, then USCIS calls you out, then you have to go sit down and say, okay, yeah, Miss Scott, I need your help when you can get her help to start with. So let me put her number back up. Once again, this is Miss Scott, 678-468-5090. She is able to provide psychological evaluation and a detailed report. I've seen a couple of people on Instagram that have actually been referred to you. and they will be able to attest to the fact of what her work is about. I do not work with any therapist that is going to give me just a 5-page. It doesn't. 5 pages is not even enough sometimes for some people's facts. She's very detailed with her work. She can help you if you're living in Georgia, Florida, and Texas. How soon are we with Tennessee and Alabama?
I've been waiting and emailing and waiting and emailing. So I'm not sure.
Okay. As soon as we know, I'll let you guys know. So I want you guys to also go on her page on TikTok, on Instagram. Please follow her page. Let people know of licensed people who are professionals who can make your case. Sometimes an evaluation report. I've used her report to be able to prove even good faith and shared residency, because they take the testimony of someone in her position as credible. When I have clients who do not have documents because of the abuse, it's not just about the abuse part of it. It's your whole case altogether. Okay. So any other information you want to add, Ms. Scott, before I take the questions?
No, I just think it's all about having a professional, polished evaluation, knowing that you are confident that your story is told in chronological order, that it has evidence to support it. I think it's just comforting to know if you can put a stamp on something, why not do it? I mean, if you're in it and you're going to do it, you might as well do it. You might as well do it to the T.
Amen, sister. I'm like, can't say it any better. But anyway, so her number is on the screen on TikTok and on YouTube and Facebook. If someone can help me put it on TikTok as well as Instagram. So it's 678-468-5090. I'm going to call that again, 678-468-5090. And if you don't get it, you can always reach out to me and we can refer you to her. Now, the one good thing I have to say is if you have me on your case, because I can refer you to Ms. Scott, that's fine. But if I'm not your lawyer, I ain't going to review nothing. If you don't pay me, I ain't doing it. But we work so well together. If I have, her report has to mesh with your affidavit. It's got to mesh with your story. And so that's why it's important to have someone who's going to take her report to meet with you. If she has any questions about being clear about my case. Oh, I think I lost her there. I lost you on YouTube and Facebook. Okay, so she's still on Instagram, so that's fine. We work together that way. We're able to mesh together, make sure that the report and the client's story is saying the same thing, because you don't want your report to have one thing and then your declaration has something else. And USCIS is going like, okay, they're not talking to each other. So that's important. That's an advantage of having an immigration lawyer work with someone who is a licensed counselor who also does immigration related evaluation. Okay. All righty. So let's see. Let me start with.
It says that I'm on your backstage. I don't know what happened. If you click
and I'm still there.
Oh, there we go. That's why I went in law school. I don't do text. That's why I went in law school. I couldn't wait to be done with math. They're like, done. Let's go. And the funny thing is, my kids, both of them are excellent in math. I'm like, their dad is a physician.
Okay.
A doctor. So I think I got to give credit to what credit.
Yeah.
It's not me.
It's a perfect mix, though. It's a perfect mix.
I think so. No, I think they have my brain, but okay. So let's start with let's see. Now, book canceling were attached. Tragedy is a victim. Can I still file for that? Okay, so I think this is both a counselor and immigration lawyer question. Ms. Scott, can you see that on your screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So Godson says, I filed VAWA in 2020, got married before the VAWA approved. that would nullify you. I mean, the terrible situation that my spouse wants us to have sex twice a day and is affecting my health.
Mhm.
Can I still file another VAWA? So I'll let Ms. Scott take this one, because definitely sometimes you may think sex twice a day is healthy, but it's not for everybody. And how can that be seen as abuse that would justify extreme cruelty abuse that will qualify you for VAWA?
Yeah. So one of the first questions I would ask you is, what would happen if you told her no? If you told her no, I don't want to do it, what would happen?
Think of that.
And so more than likely he's going to respond by saying either she's going to yell, scream, throw things, break things, or she's going to be cold to him, block him, refuse to give him any emotional support, or he's going to say she'll demand money or she'll demand other things, right? Because we understand that people who are abusive are going to try to get their needs met in any way possible. And so not only, you see, now I'm drawing out another form of abuse, right?
Listen up, people. Yep.
Not only is she coercing you to have sex, but then her behavior, if you say no, I'm sure is going to fit in another category of abuse. So I don't know if you can still file VAWA, the law and all that would leave that to
so that's where I come in.
Yeah.
So the fact that you got married while you had another the previous VAWA case pending, obviously this notifies that first case. However, the fact that you're now going through yet another abusive situation, because that is just like Ms. Scott says, that is pointing towards an abusive relationship, and that can be categorized as extreme cruelty. Because no one, first of all, someone demanding sex, you're not a sex slave.
Right.
You are a full-fledged adult, and you're in America where you can say no. But if saying no means it's hell for you, that is abuse. And so based on that, and if you have all the other requirements as well, good faith, shared residency, physical presence, good moral character, qualified relationship, then it's time to talk to an attorney and see how you can get started on your case. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this is his follow-up. He said she treats me I think he means she threatens me.
Oh yeah,
not going with me to interview.
Right. So I have a whole section on abuse related to my immigration status. So threatening to divorce, not following through with promises, dangling your immigration status like a carrot, saying if you don't do this, I'm not going to go to the interview. Those are all tools of manipulation, and it falls under abuse related to your immigration status. That's not allowed. They can't
hear that, people. Okay. Let's see. Can asylum based on? So this person is asking. So I think this will also come into how this this is your area. Can someone who has filed asylum? How does someone who has filed asylum case based on homosexuality, then marry a girl, still retain that it doesn't change who they are, but they want to satisfy whatever it is in marrying the opposite sex, even though they have an asylum based on its different sexual orientation.
Right. So that's like psychological trauma. So let's say that you are truly a gay man and your parents forced you or coerced you or said they would disown you if you would not marry a woman. So now you have the psychological trauma of not being able to live in your truth and having to marry and be with a woman when that is not what you want. And so if we can prove that you've had threats or that there was pressure from your family, or they were going to abandon you or hurt you in any way for not following through with what they wanted you to do, then yes, that is definitely trauma, emotional abuse.
I can see your face lighting up. That's all. You're all over that case, and I'm smiling because that's the kind of case I would love to take. Like, we just love to fight. We got Nigerian blood in us. So. Okay, so you've got, and please reach out to Miss Scott after. Let me put that number back up, and then on TikTok, they're asking, but I don't think she is in your state. So it's 678. Someone was asking the number again, 678-468-5090. What about California? No, not yet. What
Oh,
about
California is the hardest. California is the toughest state. When I have people reach out to me, one of the first things I ask them is, do you have an attorney? I think it's important to first have your attorney first. You're looking at the best. She's the best. I think have your attorney first, get everything in order, make sure that your case is valid and that that you have the grounds to fall under the file under the umbrella that you're looking for, and then let's come and do the evaluation. Let's do it in that order, because I would hate for you to get an evaluation and then there's another qualifying factor that you don't have.
exactly?
And so I think it's important to do it in that order.
Yes, absolutely. And someone is saying here, Digwam, I have probably murdered your name. Psychiatry is not limited to prescription only. They also do psychotherapy. We didn't say it's limited to that. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor. No qualms about that. But what I have seen in my practice, doctors like to just scribble notes. I was married to one. I know what it is like. A psychiatrist is not going to give you a detailed report like a psychologist who is doing counseling with you that we need for immigration related cases. So I hope that clarifies that no one is taking. Listen, I have a younger brother who's a surgeon. He started medical school with a full-blown afro. He finished residency. He lost his old hair. It's not for the faint of heart. So, same thing with my ex-husband. He had hair when he started. He doesn't have hair anymore. So it is a lengthy study. No one is putting that down. It's just as far as immigration is concerned, what we need. So it's not about degree, it's about what is needed at this point. Okay.
And I think that you also have to, because I went back and got training specifically for immigration. They're not going to teach you in my master's program.
No.
They're not going to teach you about immigration. So not just
no.
Yeah. So you do need to go back and get trained on immigration in order to be able to speak to all of these umbrellas, that these categories that it falls under.
Exactly. So that's why I always say, and I tell my clients, even if you don't take my referral, please make sure you have a right to ask questions before you hire a therapist. Ask them very specifically, have they handled immigration related cases? That's why it's not just like this. And once again, because people are very funny, nothing against psychiatrists. It is medical profession. But medical profession, as far as what I do, and based on what I have seen, is not helpful for my case to the extent that I need it to be. You're not going to be, a very good point, you're not learning about immigration in med school. It has nothing to do with that. This is, and that's why even a general counselor who has no idea about what immigrants go through cannot really, because I've seen that too. That's why for me, I work with therapists who have experience in immigration related cases. That, if you don't understand an immigrant's plight, how can you help my clients? Someone says, how many sessions do you use to validate claims of past traumatic experiences?
So I use assessments, and I work together for about 3 hours in total.
Okay. Let's see. I want to see. So I'm not ignoring your questions, but I'm just trying to get questions that relates to what we're talking about today. Let's see if you provide unconscious abuse. Where would you go for training on immigration? Well, that's another story. Okay, let me see what Instagram folks are up to say. Let's see. Okay. What states are you licensed in? Okay, Ms. Scott, if you repeat,
Georgia, Florida, Texas.
So she's able to have evaluation done for you if you are a resident of the state of Georgia, Texas, and Florida. When she gets more, I will let you guys know. But and then let's talk about if you are because you are physically your office is in Georgia.
Yes.
Someone who is not, even for people who are in Georgia, what options do they have as far as being able to meet with you physically, virtually? How is that done?
So if you're in Georgia, we can meet physically, or we can meet virtually. Of course, if you're in Texas or Florida, then we would meet virtually.
Okay. And each session lasts how long?
Hour and a half.
Okay. Do you have a therapist for Baltimore client? Off the top of my head, I have to think, but not Miss Scott. Maryland is not yet.
No.
But if the law passes, if it passes through Congress, then that would be very, very helpful.
Yes. Yes.
Please
So
work on Maryland.
For immigration evaluations, the therapist has to be licensed in your state. How does it work for lawyers, attorneys? Are you able to anywhere?
So for immigration, because immigration is federal practice, all you need is just to be licensed in one state.
Okay.
So that is a good thing for us immigration lawyers. So I'm licensed in Alabama and New York. Okay. So I have 2 licenses, but I just need one. And so that helps us. And that's why I can represent immigration clients in all states.
Okay.
If you would think it should be anything immigration. Mary says, let me put this up. Do you have sessions with asylum based on circumcision?
Yes. So I have had a client based on circumcision, and definitely that falls under the umbrella of asylum. And some of the questions that I'm going to ask you is what trauma has it caused you? And what trauma do you see that it has the potential to continue to cause you?
Okay. So Godson says, thank you for the response. And so this question has to do with how much the VAWA package psychological evaluation costs. She doesn't have a set amount. So that's something you would have to discuss with her, because just like my cases, you would have to discuss with her. I can tell you that her fees are extremely reasonable, and you would understand like the patience. There's some things you just cannot buy. One of such is patience and attention. Like, I am borderline. I need your help because I think I'm borderline OCD. But I think it helps because I get very picky. I'm very passionate about my immigration case and everything I do in my life. But because I've gone through this process and I love to win, so sometimes selfish too, but it's important that everything that is going together in an asylum package and a VAWA package, that a big part of that, which is psychological evaluation, that it's coming from someone who knows what the heck they're talking about. And when I tell you that she knows what the heck she's talking about, believe me, she knows what she's talking about. Okay, let's take this one question, and I think we're going to call it a night. Is it necessary to have an evaluation for VAWA, and can it be sent before receiving an RFE? So RFE is request for evidence. So is it necessary to have an evaluation? And I'll take the second half of it.
Okay. I don't think it's not mandatory. I think there's a difference between necessary and mandatory. I think it is necessary to be able to articulate your story and support your evidence of abuse. So if you can articulate your story and you have supporting documents, i.e., let's say, for example, you're saying that you have anxiety and depression. If you have been seeing a therapist who has notes, you can send that in. If you say that you have physical abuse and you've seen a doctor and you have reports and you can send that in, there are some people who are on it. They have their documentation lined up, and they're ready. Most people, they're in a state of trauma. And so if you're in a relationship and you're in a state of trauma, life is happening to you. So a lot of times you don't even have the wherewithal to even collect all of these documents. So not mandatory, in my opinion. It's necessary.
Yes, I cannot agree it more than that. It's not mandatory. I tell my clients, it's not mandatory, but ask yourself your question: do you want to increase your chance of having an approval? Because many more cases, especially VAWA cases, are non-physical abuse cases. Many more cases, you don't even have some documents to even help to prove your shared residence good faith. A detailed psychological evaluation really helps with that. So, let me see. So the second part of it is, can it be sent before receiving an RFE? I typically will do that, especially when we have, for instance, if we couldn't get it before and we needed to send that in so my client's case can start, we can have a priority date, get receipt notices, and start counting time towards their work permit and getting their social security number. And then once we get the report, and then we send that in. Sometimes I have clients who've already done their case on their own, or they're changing attorneys, and they come to me and I do a FOIA request and I review their case and like, okay, we need to add this to it. And then once it's ready for Ms. Scott, I send it in because it saves time rather than wait for an RFE. Now, when it comes to VAWA cases, because I am a lawyer, we have an email dedicated to attorneys that we can use to attach documents and send it directly to Women Service Center. That's the way I send anything, that even before getting an RFE. RFE, I usually would send it by mail, just the way they have said. But if it's not an RFE, I put it in an email, attach it to it, and they will respond and acknowledge that they have received that additional evidence, and it's been added to my client's file. Every single time I have an evaluation report that for a pending case, that's the only way that I send it in. And they would acknowledge that it's been added. So that gives me additional confidence and peace of mind that that's part of my client's file and part of our evidence. So it is not mandatory. It is absolutely important. It is absolutely necessary. It just is. There's just no way around it, because I have won cases solely based on a detailed evaluation report. That's all I can say, right? Okay. So we can go on and on and on. Can you believe it's already an hour?
Yeah. You guys had some really good questions, and I understand that you want to do your due diligence and you want to make sure that you're working with someone who is credible, because it is very, very important. And so I think, that peace of mind, just knowing that it's done, it's going to be done well. I pour my heart into it. It means a lot to me. So, yeah.
And I am, listen, if you can work with me, no, I'm not crazy. I'm not. But my point is, if someone can work with me, we're on the same level of passion. Because if I don't even say, okay, I just send you an email because I already know what you expect. Mm-hmm. Because I already know what things. I don't say, hey, can we know? I just send an email like, hey, this is the person's information. Mm-hmm. But no, she's not in Tennessee yet. That's not what I said. I didn't say she's in Tennessee. I said she is going to be. Mm-hmm. I'm in Tennessee. Like, no, she's not. Mm-hmm. But when that happens, that will let you know. Mm-hmm. So once again, if you guys, my internet's gone out again, but hopefully it comes back on Facebook and YouTube. Once again, you guys need to contact Ms. Scott. Her number is 678-468-5090. Once again, that's 678-468-5090. Make your cases as strong as possible. Get the necessary evidence you need in your humanitarian cases, VAWA cases, asylum cases, and meet with a licensed professional counselor who is experienced in immigration cases. If we can help you with your immigration cases, my office number is 334-341-4475, and we will be glad to represent you in your immigration case. Thank you, Ms. Scott.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we will do this sometime soon, maybe the next month or so. We'll see.
Yeah. Now that we got it down, we got the
listen, y'all have to give us pats on our back, like, because we were like, how's this gonna work? How's this gonna work? I think the next